beautiful people. Hi everyone. Good afternoon, my lovely woman of worth community. How are you? I am so happy to be here. You all should have seen me behind the camera. I'm gonna share a video one of these days with my behind the scenes, how I get ready and show up just for you lovely people. As much as I'm streaming from home, I actually get myself ready and set up my space as though I am in studio or I'm going somewhere, and I am going somewhere. And I take it not for granted either what I'm doing here, because it's not just a joy, but it is also a privilege for me to be alive, to have been challenged, to have been brokenhearted, to have been abused physically, to have been hurt, and now I am healed, delivered, and walking in value and victory. So I take it not for granted that I am here today, alive and well, but also extremely happy to be able to share with you, and with the hopes that the streams or the stories, experiences, and information shared will be one of enlightenment, one that will help you, my woman of worth community, my lovely people, to be inspired, educated, informed, but also to be transformed. Because ain't nothing as great as a transformation. When one is transformed, one is able to walk in not just newness, but one is able to walk in confidence, one is able to walk in power, one is able to walk in courage, and one is able to walk in victory. Now, with that said, I hope to be real short today. And so I just want to pick up quickly on what was shared last week, because it somewhat ties into this week. And if you had streamed with me last week, you would have seen my daughter and I sharing on the parenting styles, the different types of parenting styles, and the type of parenting style that I once exhibited, but how God has, brought certain things to my attention, and has, provoked me to be the best version or the best mom that I could be, in terms of how I went about parenting my older daughter, and how it has helped me to transform into the mother that I am today, in being a better mom, not just for her, the older daughter, but also for my younger one. And in saying that too, because of what God has dealt with me with, or how he has dealt with me, in what he has brought to my attention, in the things that I needed to do, and how I needed to go about it, it has helped me to be a better person today in so many different ways. And that is one of the reasons why I'm here today, to share with you. And so I'm just extremely happy, and hope that what will be discussed today will be of something valuable to you. Yes? And so with the parenting styles that were shared on last week, it was talking about the effects and the impact that our parenting styles can have on our children. And it's a part of human development. Yes? Our child or our children's development, in how we parent them. And it has an emotional side to it, as well as a social side to it. and I will be getting further into, or will be sharing in addition about the what's that called, the different, the stages of development, let me say it that way. The 8 stages of development I'll be sharing today, according to Erikson. Erik Erikson is a psychologist, and there are more than one theories to human development, but today I would love to focus on Erik Erikson human development theory, right? And there are 8, but today I want to focus on the first 5. And I want to focus on the first 5 because it's really looking at the development of childhood. And because it's Child's Month, we're still observing the month of May, or the month of May as Child's Month. Hence, today, this is what I'll be sharing on, and would be focusing on the first 5 stages of Erik Erikson's human development. Now, the 8 stages encompasses of the childhood stage, the adolescent stage, and the adult stage. I hope I got it right. So I guess you can put it in 3 categories. But today I want to focus on the childhood. And because, again, it's Child Month, I want to help you, my Woman of Worth community, and especially those who are parents, and in particular moms. I am sharing to help you so that you can help your child, so we can all have a better relationship with our child or children and the wider society. Because how we raise our children, or how we train our child or our children, it will eventually impact society. So I feel that this is a part of my responsibility to share the knowledge that I've gained and the wisdom of God in helping you to be the best version of yourself, to be the best parent, and more so the best mom. And I just want to say thank you for those who are joining, okay? I really appreciate the support. I really appreciate your interest. You could have been elsewhere, but you chose to be with me here today live, and I thank you. So I'm going to start with the stage that's called trust versus mistrust. Now you are probably able to already state what that is. And if you think that you have an idea as I go along in sharing what these different stages are in the early childhood development, I would love for you to share your thoughts. I would love for you to share your views. I would love for you to leave a comment in the comment section, so that I can, we can have a rapport, we can have more of a discussion, and so I can include you in the conversation, and we can have a good dialogue, right? And we can bounce off some of, our information or experiences too on each other, or off each other, so we can help each other, right? Now, the trust versus mistrust stage, this happens from between birth to 18 months. Right? And during this stage, this is where the child develops trust as they get older. What do I mean by that? Now, at this stage, the child develops if and how they trust individuals, including parents and their caregivers. How do they develop this, you may ask? This is developed, for example, when the child is young, a newborn, growing up, and as a mother or a parent, whenever the child cries, whenever the child becomes hungry, because of course at this stage they are not yet able to speak clearly or properly to us, verbally, through a language that we can really understand. So God has given them a voice, however, and that is through crying. So for example, when a newborn cries, The newborn is trying to indicate to us that they're either hungry, uh, their diaper needs to change, they need to sleep, or perhaps they just need some comforting. Now, as parents, it is our responsibility to ensure that we cater to our young ones, right? And so during this stage, and if we're consistent, so remember last week I would have talked about consistency. So in everything and anything, if we're not consistent, then we won't get the best results that we so desire, right? And the child develops trust from there, because they recognize each time they cry, mommy, daddy, or whoever the caregiver is, a nanny, feeds them, changes their diaper, ensures that they're clean, and stuff like that. So as they grow, they recognize that those around them can be trusted with the things that matters most to them. And bear in mind that though I'm talking about the first 5 stages of the child's development or human development in the child stage, these things, children carry them until they're adults. Yes. So this is a part of how, or this is partly how personalities develop. Personalities develop through the experiences, the genetics, of course, of the parents, through the social interaction and the environment around them, around us. So these all are a part of how our personalities are developed. So when the child learns to trust at such a tender age, they carry that with them throughout their lifetime. Now, you may say, okay, but what about the mistrust part? No, if we can, how should I put this? We can give our children a false sense of reality. But before I go there, what trust is indicating to our children is that there is hope. There is hope for them to experience something great. There is hope for people to be able to care for them. There is hope for them to be able to trust people. Now, of course, we know the world that we live in today. A lot of individuals may be saying, I cannot trust people, I will not trust people, and I don't trust people. Of course, it is sometimes due to some experiences that we've had, but we should not allow those experiences to rob us from the true hope that God has in store for us to experience, right? And so, as I was saying before, that we can cause our children to have a false sense of hope. How? We may teach them to trust everything and anything that they see, hear, and experience. We may give them the false sense of hope that everything will always work out for them. Everything will always be in their favor. Everything will happen by the snap of a finger. Yes, even though I made mention earlier that as parents, as caregivers for our children, we should be consistent in how we care for them and when and how we tend to them. In the same breath, if we're not careful in how we teach them certain things, then they will think that the world out there that they'll be going in will always be giving them what they need. So there has to be a balance. Yes, care for our kids, but there has to be a striking balance, and we have to be very mindful on how we go about that, right? The second stage I want to look at is the autonomy versus shame and doubt. Now, here in Jamaica, there are quite a number of children who are doubtful and feel ashamed. And this happens because of several reasons, right? And the several reasons can be as a result of, partly because of the experience that they have. So a lot of our development, a lot of our life is included with or experiences we have with individuals, the interaction. And this particular theory, this is what Erikson looked at, the psychosocial aspect of a human development or of human development. So it looks at the individual thought and the need that interacts or intertwines with the social experiences. How do we interact with each other? So as children interacts with adults a whole lot from birth until they reach a certain age and stage in their lifetime. And not just parents, but caregivers, teachers, and individuals who are authoritative figures, right? Now, or authority figures rather. Now with the autonomy versus shame and doubt, this is where the children feel like they have the will to do. They have the capability to be. They have the ability to connect with themselves. What do I mean by that? Is that during this age from 1 to 3 years old, this is the stage where a child learns potty training. Means they're learning to use the bathroom. They're learning how to go to poo and eventually stop wearing diapers to pull-ups and maybe panties or briefs, undergarments, right? So at this stage, if we're not careful, for example, as the child learns to, what shall I say, connect with their bodily functions, if and when the child starts to feel the movements within their body that says, hey, I need to go poo, hey, I need to go pee. If and when the child feels like that, if we're not careful and they're trying to be, what should I say? They're trying to be grown up, a bigger baby. So they're trying to go on their own. But there are times when they will make spills. There are times when they'll take off their diapers. There are times when they will just have the poo all over the place, right? And if we're not careful as parents, we could cause them to feel ashamed by maybe raising our voice at them, by screaming at them, by shouting at them, and say, look what you did, you made such a mess, da 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 da, and stuff like that. And if we're not careful, what that can cause them to start feeling whenever they think or feel like they need to go to poo, whether if they're trying it on their own or they just need to, they need your help, they may be afraid to do it, to go. They may start now not trusting what they're feeling within their bodies. Yeah? And the other day, my little one, she pooed. And her daddy was the one who made me realize what was happening. Because I was inside the kitchen and he came to the door and saw that, hey, she had no diaper on and her poo was, yeah. So I came from the kitchen. Of course I was upset. Of course I was like, oh my God, what is this, to myself? But I tried to keep my composure. I tried to be a parent and a mature adult right there and said to her, Nai, why didn't you call mommy? I don't even know if she understood what I was saying. But then within myself, of course, I was frustrated because I had a long day and everything and had so much to do. But in the same breath, within myself, I was trying to remember this very same thing that I'm now speaking on. So it's not something I have not experienced. And I have a child before, so I would have experienced it. But chances are I may have dealt with it differently then. Right? And so I came, I saw it, and I was like, wow, my work is not done. A mother's work is never done anyhow. So I just cleaned the mess up, cleaned her off, changed her diaper, and moved right along. And one of the other things that we'll do to them during this stage in causing doubt is that they may not be certain of how to make certain decisions. Something as simple as, do I really need to go? Should I go? They'll start questioning themselves if they really need to go, or should they go? Should they say, I need to poo? Or should I try to just do it on my own? Should I go get my potty and sit on it by myself and try to do it? So if we're not careful, this is how we can have a negative impact on the way in which we speak to our kids, right? The third stage I want to look at is the initiative versus guilt. This is between the ages of 3 to 6. This is a stage where during child's play, you will observe that children play together a whole lot, especially if they start going to kindergarten. As a matter of fact, maybe even as early as preschool, right? But especially I'm going to be looking at it from the age of 3 to 6, where they're at kindergarten level, right? And they play a lot. So if you observe these children, they are taking the initiative or making the initiative to decide what to play with, who to play with, and who they want to be, as well as they may become independent or want to become independent in trying to choose even their own clothes. And I often hear parents say, sometimes they choose the clothes and there's something them don't even match. It's not even proper going out clothes to go outside. And if you know what going out clothes mean, if there's a difference in Jamaica, we say going out clothes from yard clothes. And so we may think that these children are just too much. They don't understand and they just want to be in charge and they're just not in charge. But hello, what we're teaching them at this stage is we're teaching them to learn to start making decisions. Yes, and that we trust their decision making. As young as they are, this is where things starts developing. And with the initiative versus guilt, if we allow them the freedom to make certain decisions, what we're also doing is allowing them to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. So why do we think we should take that from our children, the ability to help them to make a decision, and if they fail, we chastise them? What we should be doing, giving them the freedom, of course there are boundaries and limits, but we should give them the freedom to make that small choice, that small decision. And should they fail, as parents, what we should do, instead of judging them or judging their decision, what we should do, and let me say this here too, when they make their decision, instead of saying I told you so when they make a mistake, what we should be doing is guiding them, correcting them with grace and love, and say, it's okay baby, it's okay honey, you made a mistake, we can do it, we can get it right. So you find that as these babies become adults, simple decision making, it's a challenge for them. And I remember doing a young lady's manicure a few months ago, and she was so indecisive, she could not choose a nail polish. It was such a difficult task, and I am not exaggerating, I am saying it as it is. She had the opportunity to select her color before I started the service. During the service, she had chosen so many different colors during the service, you know, because she was so indecisive. So it's not about just choosing and I just like all of them and I think I'm going to choose one eventually. She just could not decide on a color or what it is that she really wanted. So during the service, I kept asking, have you decided? Would you like to? Is there a particular look that you're going for? Stuff like that, right? And it was just such a challenge. You could see it all over her face. She was so burdened. She felt so pressured. She felt like, oh my God, I just don't know what to do. I cannot decide. And I remember asking her again, is there a particular look that you're going for? And she said, I don't know. And she had that worried look on her face, as if, I feel like if I choose something, I'm going to make a mess, and I don't want to, you know, make a mistake and choose the wrong color and stuff like that. And I kept saying to her, it's a color. You must have a favorite color that you like. There must be a particular look that you're going for. So start from there, and then it will be a little easier. Then you can break it down from the number of colors that she chose to maybe 2 or 3, and then I can take it from there. Because in that very moment too, I recognized that she had a challenge, and I didn't want to just choose for her. I wanted to give her the opportunity to make a decision, and for her to recognize that it's a color, it's a nail polish, and you want your nails to look good, but start somewhere. And what I was also trying to do in that moment too was, even though I was trying to give her the opportunity to choose, I wanted her to choose, and then I would have given her my suggestion, because I recognized that something was happening right there. And then I started to think back on the lesson that I'm now talking about, that I learned in a class, and I recognized that this must have been where it all started. So it's okay if we allow our babies to start making little decisions, small decisions. It's helping them to be able to make better decisions as they become adults or young adults, right? With the 4th stage, it's the industry versus inferiority. And this is between the ages of 6 to 12 years old. This is where self-esteem and competency is developed. Now, we know there are a lot of youths who have low self-esteem. I personally don't remember suffering or experiencing low self-esteem. I don't recall that at all. And I think too that as parents, sometimes we transfer, there are certain things that we transfer to our children, knowingly and unknowingly. What do I mean by that? If our children see us operate in a certain manner, they're seeing something modeling before them, they may think that is the correct way to do, say, or go about something, whilst it may not necessarily be so. And it can bring about some kind of a confusion, because they may hear or see their peers doing something different, something that may even look or sounds better. So we have to be mindful on what it is that we are modeling before our children, right? And during this age or stage, this is an advanced stage in terms of the school years. Because remember, with the stage previously, I said that this is where the child's play happens, where children play. They are at preschool and kindergarten. But now, at this stage, we're moving on to the next level of schooling. I think this would be like the primary level. Yeah, primary level. So, these years are very, what should I say? They're very, what's the word? They're very important. Now, all stages are important, but this stage in particular is very important. And it's important because of the experiences that children gain at home, but also the experiences that they gain at school. Yes? And at school, this is another level to, what shall I say? To the types of caregivers that they have. Because when they go at school, the teachers basically are their caregivers. Those at school are their caregivers, because they are the ones who are ensuring that they have a meal, they are educated and sometimes counseled, nurtured, and stuff like that. However, teachers sometimes can have a negative impact on our students. What do I mean by that? Now remember, I made mention of the experiences that children have during this stage, as well as their expectations both at home and at school. teachers, grandparents, even what the figure of authority in their lives. We all have expectations of our children, even whether they are our own or they are students, adopted, you name it. We all have expectations. But sometimes, as I made mention in the stream last week, that we can have some unreasonable expectations of our children. And I remember too sharing from the book of Ephesians chapter 6 verses 4, I believe, but I think I read from verse 1 for context, I think. And I love the Amplified, I love the King James Version, but the Amplified, I love to share it so it can make it a little bit simpler and easier for some individuals to understand. And what that verse was talking about, the unreasonable expectations that we have as parents of our children, and the task that sometimes we expect them to carry out when we know it's not fair to them, and then when they're not able to carry out these expectations, we can be a little bit bashful. So we have to be very mindful about how we go about this, right? And the question that we have to ask ourselves during this stage of our children's development is, are we praising them or are we judging and criticizing them? So what this question is asking is, when they do well, are we praising them? Because sometimes too, as parents, sometimes some of us, not all of us, some of us, even when the child does something well, something good, we tend to not see it. We tend to be blindsided. We tend to ignore it. We tend to not acknowledge the good that they have done. But whenever they make a mistake or do something that is not in alignment with our expectations, we may have a tendency to criticize, judge, chastise, or even punish them. So these things are things that we have to be very careful about in how we go about parenting our children so that they can develop well from birth to adults. Yes? The identity versus role confusion. This is between the ages of 12 to 19 years. This is where they develop fidelity, right? And 19 young adults, we may say, well, they're adults here in Jamaica. We can't wait for them reach 18 years old, right? Yeah. And sometimes as young adults, we can't wait for reach 18, 19. I couldn't wait to reach 18 when I was young. And I have to be honest, because I was a child, I was a young adult. So I have to say it like it is. Because sometimes as parents, we have a tendency to forget that we too had a past. We have a tendency to forget that we were not perfect. We have a tendency to forget that sometimes our parents may have had some of the very same challenges that we may have with our children. But instead of being real with them, instead of understanding where they're at and trying to help them, we may, again, criticize, judge, punish, and chastise them. So I'm here to encourage you, my woman of worth, community, parents, and especially moms. I did it. You can do it. You can do better for your children, by your children, and with your children. So with this stage, early adolescent, as I made mention, starts kicking, right? And again, the expectation of society, the expectation of parents, and it could go on and on and on. The identity confusion starts to set in. Oh my God, you may be wondering, what is this about? What is happening to my child? It's a part of the development stage. Sure, the identity confusion is not something that as parents that we look forward to, we're expecting, or may even know how to handle it, right? And a part of this identity confusion is this, at this stage you're trying to figure out, who they are. Yeah? So they're trying to figure out, who am I going to stay true to? Am I going to stay true to who I am? Am I going to stay true to who mommy expects me to be? Am I going to be true to who my friends expect me to be, or maybe the wider society? So they are a little bit confused because mommy expects this, daddy expects that, grandma expects this, the teacher expects that, the pastor expects this, and the list goes on. So they're a little bit confused because all of us, our expectations may look different or sound different. So this may cause the child to become confused in trying to figure out what is it that is really expected of me, or if all these individuals, if all these people have all these expectations of me, how do they expect me to carry out all of these expectations? At what stage and what level, at what measure do they expect me to carry out these expectations? Yeah? So we have to find again the balance in how we raise our kids. I'm not here to tell you there's a perfect guide. Absolutely not, because there isn't a perfect guide. But there is a way to develop, what should I say, a perfect, we're not perfect, but we can develop the perfect or the best fitting, what shall I say, communication, relation, and interaction with our children. Because my communication may sound a little different from yours. Your expectation again may be different from mine. So if I sit here and say to you, oh, expect this, do that, down to the T, it may not be 100% applicable to you. So you have to find what's best fitting for you as a parent, right? Now, at this stage too, they have some sexuality confusion going on. So they may be trying to figure out, am I a girl? As we see in today's world, am I a boy? They may be confusing, trying to figure out, am I both? Can I be both? Yeah? And I remember a few years ago, here in Jamaica, there was a lot of students who was experiencing this, the females in particular, especially in the all-girls high school. And I remember being in a setting where a young lady shared with me what she was experiencing, and I asked her, because I knew who her aunt was, I asked her if her aunt is aware, and she said, no, you're mad, she'll kill me. She'll do this to me, she'll do that to me, right? I myself experienced this with a family member, and it was not something I was expecting or looking forward to. However, I had to pray and ask God for guidance, and I sought help for that individual, so that instead of me being a family who would come hammering them, what I did was I tried to get help and prayed so that God could remove the scales from their eyes, so that they could recognize who God had truly called them to be. Because God makes no mistake. He designed male and he designed female. So he did not design me as a male and then I would now go and say I am he designed me as a female. I hope that's what I said. He designed me as a female. Let me repeat that. He created me in his likeness and his image as a female, and he was well pleased with me as a female when he was done. When they were finished, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, they were well pleased. So then, for me to know, I say I am a male, it would not be fair or just or true to who God has designed me to be. And so I can speak about me. And so for the individual, for the young ones, I prayed and I tried to guide that young lady that I knew of her situation. And of course, let me just leave it here. For the family member that I encountered something similar, I got help and I prayed. And today it's just who God has created them to be. It's not an easy road, of course, when our children get to this stage, when our family members get to this level. It's not that we're going to hammer them, beat them, throw them out, punish them. That won't answer the problem. That will not bring about the solution. One way I can say to you that you can help them to recognize and identify who they are, whom God has called them to be, designed and created them to be, is by guiding them. I'm not saying that you're to guide them to be who God has not created them to be. Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is who God has absolutely designed them to be, you guide them. You counsel them. You show them love. Because they're at this stage, again, during this stage, their frontal lobe is not yet fully developed anyhow. So therefore, for them to decide at such a young age to say that, oh, God created me to be a girl, but I'm now a boy, I'll just leave it there. Or God created me to be a boy, but I'm now a girl, I'll just leave it there. So may I implore you today, my lovely Woman of Worth community, parents, and in particular moms, be their guiding light. Be your children's shining armor. All they need is guidance and counseling. That's all they need. In addition to love, nurture, care, affirmation, protection. That's what they need. I remember sharing with a family member years ago. My older daughter was, I think, 20, somewhere there about 19, 18, somewhere there about 18, 19, 20. And there was a situation that happened, and I had to remind the family member that even though my daughter is now of age, quote unquote, of age, she still needs guidance. And as a parent, as a mom, that is my responsibility to her to ensure that I guide her and counsel, because like I made mention in psychology, the frontal lobe is not yet fully developed until about, early mid-20s? I don't remember the exact age. I need to try to go back into my notes and look this up, because I can't be saying this and can't remember the age range, but it's there in the early 20s, mid-20s. So how then do we expect them to responsibly at all times? Because some children, even though they may be at this stage of their life, 19, 20, 21, they may be a little bit more mature than others, and that is true. However, according to the science, according to the studies, the frontal lobe is not yet fully developed until they're about. So it therefore means that though sometimes they may act like they're grown people, they may want their freedom, they may want their the way to do what they want to do, we still have a responsibility as parents to guide them and allow there to be room for growth, allow there to be room for mistakes, but most importantly, allow for there to be room for grace, and allow there to be room for reconciliation, and allow there to be room for love. So I hope that this stream today was informative. I hope it was educational for you, and I pray that this stream will provoke the life in you so that you can be the best version of yourself, but most importantly, the woman of worth that is buried deep in the recesses of your heart and your soul. I pray that this stream will provoke the life in you to no longer settle at the low level that you are, but to rise above your challenges, to rise above your struggles, and to recognize that there is more for you, to recognize that that woman of worth, that woman of value, that woman of victory is awaiting to be emerged. I love you, but God loves you more. Thank you for staying tuned to the Woman of Worth podcast. Thank you for joining week after week. Thank you for sharing with others. Thank you for following. And thank you so much for those who would have left me a comment, for those who would have sent a private message DM or via WhatsApp. I thank you all so much for sharing how these podcasts have impacted you, have provoked you, and have caused you to look into yourself and to pursue the best version of yourself. It encourages me to keep doing this that I'm doing here. And so I am proud of you. Celebrate your small achievements. Celebrate the small things that you have recognized, that you have done differently, that have brought you good fruits, blessed fruits, and joyful fruits. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week, where I'll be having an exclusive interview with a special guest, so stay tuned so you can join and you can learn and be inspired, transformed, and educated, and walk in the value and victory that is so designed for your life. I love you, but God loves you more. Shalom. Bye-bye. Thank you.